put spicy. I mean, that's the downfall of how outsourcing and not having your own delivery drivers or.
Because if who just had delivery, oh well, I ain't got no damn car to drive.
I'm gonna give you a car. You too.
No, my fucking feet just I'm just saying. I say we're mocking people now. That's what we're doing. Because last time I checked, I'm not the one who got traumatized. Last time I checked, I was the one who drove and I had to.
It's a Kia.
I know, but it had a hatchback on it. Sean said he got fired.
Who?
Sean.
From?
The guy that was willing to give me the $3,000.
Oh, poor guy. Why did he get fired?
I don't know. Him and his wife both got fired at the same time.
Shit.
They were like, we got to talk when we get home. They both sent each other a message saying, we got to talk when we get home.
Fuck.
And he said they got home and he said they both got fired. So he took...
But they work for different companies?
They work for different companies.
Wow.
They just... Ironically. And they have so much money saved up that they're not even worried about it.
Sure.
He said, I'm not really worried about it. He said, I just can't give you $3,000 now. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I said, that would just be my fucking luck.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, starting...
You should trade $3,000 for a Hex.
Wow, that's what I was about to bring up. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Miss Ada said I might be sick.
Who's Miss Ada?
She's my voodoo lady.
Why?
Because I told you, I wasn't kidding when I said I was getting the Hex removed off Owen.
Just wish you would stop messing with that stuff.
She told me because
there's always up here.
She said because I'm deliberately connected to the Hex and it's being removed, that's what's gonna make me sick. But she said I'm not to worry about it. She said it'll be like a cold. She called me while I was at work to give me like the rundown on how like the de-escalate and all that stuff goes. And she said you're quite the nifty bitch. I said, what do you mean? She said these ingredients. She said, did you come up with this on your own? I said, yeah. She said, how soon are you coming to New Orleans? I said, why? She said because I need to just pick your mind.
Is this like when you made that roach killer spray?
Yeah, I just threw all my shit together. I know what goes to what.
So when are we going to New Orleans?
I don't know. But she was like, I need to pick your brain. She said, because I never would have thought of using bat root for this and for that. I said, girl, bat root has a lot of properties, girl. I said, it gives a little kick. It's like black pepper.
Speaking of black pepper, the doctor tonight over Dad was the same one from last time he came in.
Wow. That's weird. Wait, how did black pepper happen to you?
Black people, black pepper.
Oh! Got it.
And what you said about black pepper has a lot of qualities or something?
Yeah. Yeah, she said, so what did you put in was asking me what did I put in it because I mailed her the dime bag. I dug it up and I mailed it to her.
I don't need no details. You can tell me,
But
because I am the kind that would fuck around.
I know.
So
And find the fuck out.
Yeah, so
Which you have been doing.
But I don't need to be.
You don't need to be what?
I don't need to be playing in the voodoo kitchen.
No. But she was like, well, who? She said, who's the white guy in this? And I said, well, the one with my beard, not with my beard. I said, the one with the beard is my boyfriend. I said, the one we're removing the hex from is the skinny little damn skeleton, malnourished looking guy. She said, oh, okay. And so she said, you were really upset when you created this. I said, yeah, yes the fuck I was. She said, but why is things not happening to him? I said, because I said, no matter what, John is gonna try to talk to that son of a bitch. So, whatever bounce back happens, it hits John. And if it doesn't double back and hit John, it hits him. She was like, yeah, she said, I see with the rubber band. She said, that was clever. She said, but why are you removing this? I said, because, I said, no matter what I do, I said, he's just gonna talk to him. She said, okay. And she said, what's this other list of names? I said, oh, that's his family. I said, you can whip me up something for all of them. But I do have the last four Owen Social. I do have his family listed. Tell him don't drive his car in the next 4 days. She danced for Beyonce on this tour. Yeah.
Oh, is Beyonce's tour done?
Yeah.
Oh.
It ended back in October.
Oh.
Yeah. New Orleans and Kansas City was part of her last 3 shows.
miles, maybe more. Your whore of a mom couldn't have caught all of them. So why aren't you answering? I miss you. Your friend, Trevor.
Into the drawer the letter went. Out came the textbooks. On came the computer. I breathed a sigh of relief as the machine booted up. Finally, he gets it. It was the best thing that could have happened. Better even than never hearing from him again. This time, for once, he acknowledged that I had deliberately cut him off. Took him long enough. As I commenced hacking my way through pages and pages of research on evolving theory on abnormal psychology, I felt an unexpected twinge of guilt. Trevor Wapner was a criminal, a killer, but it had originally been me, not him, who had reached out for a friend. I hadn't even had the guts to tell him I was done. This could have been over long ago. And through it all, he'd cared enough about me to keep our letters secret. If he had told anyone I knew, then sooner or later everyone would have found out. I felt bad for him, but not bad enough to write back. I figured he had one more letter left in him, tops. But I was wrong. He had two.
March 19th, 2016. Dear Mercy, in all the time we've been corresponding, you never once asked me what happened that night. I'm sure you must want to know. I can't blame you. I understand. Well, sweetheart, I think you deserve to know the true story. I owe you that much. It was 1986, and I was taking a stroll after dark. As I walked by the woods, I saw something strange. Something I can't properly describe to this day. In the darkness, I saw something even darker. Something that seemed to absorb even the dimmest of light. A kind of shadow in the darkness. I could only make out its presence from the absence of things around it. This strange moving shadow shifted towards me as though liquid and solid all at once. I was frozen in fear. I couldn't move, couldn't run, couldn't scream. The shadow slithered into me, and suddenly I felt a rush of adrenaline. My body started moving on its own. You know, after all these years, I've always maintained my innocence. And this is why. I wasn't in control that night. I was just a puppet. That thing, that shadow, it pulled me by unseen strings, forced me to do those heinous things. I couldn't stop myself. There was no way to resist him. He made me steal that truck, made me throw those women into the back, made me force myself on them, made me watch as my hands squeezed the life out of them. I had to watch. Oh God, I had to watch as the light faded from their eyes and I felt their bodies turn cold. I had to throw them into the ditch and hunt for the next. After the third woman, I managed to restrain him. I sat on the hood of that truck and waited for the police to find and arrest me. That was my choice. What I did to those women wasn't. Now that you know the truth, will you
things weren't even that bad with Mom anymore. So go ahead and say it. I won't argue. I was an idiot. I let the sleeping dog lie. It wasn't long, of course, before the sleeping dog woke up.
July 2nd, 2016. Dear Mercy, I gave you a chance, Mercy. I gave you all the time in the world to reply to me. Why didn't you reply to me? Are you afraid of me? Don't you believe my story? Have you lost faith in me? In us? What they say in the news ain't right, you know. I grew up normal. A normal boy in a normal, God-fearing household in the outskirts of Montana. They tell my story the way they want to tell my story. Make things up to make me sound like some kind of bloodthirsty animal, capable of nothing but inflicting pain. They never understood me. They changed my story to fit their agendas, to come up with a fake little explanation as to why I was the way I was, because the lie made more sense than the truth I told. Made more sense than knowing that demons are out there, that the devil is real, that I was just a puppet. They say I tortured my pets as a kid. What a fucking crock. I never hurt a damn animal in my life. Said I was a loner. Not true. I had plenty of friends. Not that any of them would admit to that now. But you would. You know how good of a friend I can be, Mercy. They made me out to be everything I wasn't. They spun their web of lies, made me out to be a monster. The joke's on them, though. I ain't no monster. I'm a savior. I'm rotting in this jail by choice. It's by my will, and my will alone, that this creature doesn't get back out into the world. I make sure that I stay in this cell, right here, where it can't escape. Don't you see? I let myself get caught on purpose. I wanted to protect the world, not from me, but from it. I keep the world safe. I keep you safe. But it wants out. I'm not sure I can hold it back could track you down. Yeah, we know exactly where you live. See you soon, sweetheart.
That was it. His last letter. He must have written it during the day, before mail call or whatever you call it on the inside, because that was also the night that he broke out. He'd been in maximum security, naturally. 1,000 brick and mortar layers of "you're fucked" separating him from the rest of society. But he got out anyway. Alone. No tunnels, no bodies, nothing. By the time the letter arrived, I'd already been here for 2 days, along with Mom. She's still trying to process all this. How could I have kept it a secret from her for so long? It's no secret she doesn't think I'm all that clever, no more than you do. And I won't judge you for that. One of the hardest things for me to get my head around is the realization that Trevor Walker was not my father's friend. The man in the picture with Dad was not the Trevor Walker I just saw on television. They're nothing alike. I suppose I should not be too surprised. Turns out the man in the photograph is some guy named Pete Duggar, and he'd been busted with my dad after the convenience store robbery. I now realize that when my father had written, "Getting to know wonderful people like Trevor Walker," he was being sarcastic. I mean, if they had been so wonderful together, why would Trevor have killed him in the cafeteria that day? I suppose I should be grateful. I'm surrounded by more than half the cops in town, and most of the other half are out looking for him. I am as safe as I can be. But Trevor is out there looking, too. Looking for me. And I am certain he was truthful about that much. And that's not even the worst thing. That's not why I'm so scared. I know my mother and I will remain in protective custody for a good long time. No, the thing that bothers me is the possibility that everything Trevor Walker said about his original crimes was actually the truth. I mean, impossible as that is, it sure would explain the jailbreak, and no one else seems to be able to do that. If people are so willing to believe in God without evidence, based only on faith, then how hard is it to imagine that the devil, or his agents, walk among us as well? If they do, you won't be able to save me. No one will. He'll probably kill my mother as well. And it will be my fault, because I didn't help Trevor keep the devil at bay.
You are no doubt aware of the oft-told horror legend of the werewolf. But in this tale from author Manon Lysette, we learn of one small British village which seems to be stricken with that curse. But perhaps the strange events in the village aren't as supernatural as they first seem. Performing this tale are James Cleveland and Erica Sanderson. So if people around you start acting strangely, check your calendar and try to determine if he howls at the moon.
small village called Milan in Norfolk. That's a nice, quiet place, but I don't have much going for it. Well, honestly, I rather like it this way. I never grow tired of the scenic countryside beauty, unblemished by the modern world. Milan is the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. A one-pub town, as they say. The area doesn't attract too many tourists, which, again, is fine by me. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's the thought of us trying to cater to strangers. No, I'm not xenophobic. If you want to visit Milan, I'll gladly open my home to you. I'll even buy you a drink and spend the evening sharing stories. What I don't want are droves of tourists flooding the area, and the village trying to remodel itself and build new establishments to accommodate. I live here because it's quiet. If I wanted to navigate through clusters of tourists taking selfies, I'd move to London. But I digress. Milan is and always will be my home, but there's one thing about it that disturbs me. One thing you won't find in the papers or in those little United Kingdom tourist pamphlets. We have a history of people who've exhibited a rather strange set of behaviours. Aaron Cox. He was the latest victim of the affliction that has quietly plagued my village since the 1700s. No one knows exactly when it started, only that that's as much ingrained in our history.
Starring Dana Andrews in an exciting tale of danger and espionage. I was a communist for the FBI.
Yeah.
To fuel whatever desperate, despairing, perverted fantasies he used as masturbation fuel on his prison cot at night. He wanted more pictures. He wanted the up-to-date version of what I looked like. He wanted to track my
There's no one right
progress
behind me.
toward
Fuck.
becoming a woman. I threw up again. Noticed my mother at the doorway, watching me, saying nothing. I screamed at her to leave me alone. She did, swearing under her breath something about me being a neurotic little bitch. Later, it would occur to me that the trait was inherited. You know how you always think of that perfect comeback when the moment's long gone? Anyway, I was making too much of this. He was locked up, after all. I spit, flushed the toilet, steadied my breathing. What could he really do? The days of me writing letters to Trevor Walker were fucking finished. But Trevor, it turned out, was not finished with me.
September 15th, 2015. Dear Mercy, I haven't heard from you in a while. The fucking mail clerk must have lost your letter. Don't you just hate when that happens? Or maybe my letter's the ones that got lost. Maybe you didn't get my last reply and you're waiting for me. If so, I'm sorry. I wouldn't leave you waiting like that. I'd never do that to you. I could never be that cruel. I know you wouldn't be that cruel either. I'm all you've got. You're all I've got. Can't wait to hear from you again, sweetheart. Your friend, Trevor.
I wasn't too surprised to find this particular letter in the mailbox. Actually, if I was surprised by anything, it was that he took 3 months to send it. I could see that he suspected the truth. It was all in the way he used the word cruel. He knew what I was doing. Deep down, he knew it, even if he was in denial about it. And he was trying, in that slimy way of his, to guilt me into writing back. Not gonna happen, Trevor, I thought, sliding this letter into my desk drawer at home. I stared at the pile. I should throw them all away. But I didn't. Nor did I take them to the police and file for a restraining order. The thought of my correspondence with Trevor becoming public was unbearable. The news would have a field day with it. I'd be like those crazy women who wrote letters to Manson or Bundy wanting to marry them. That wasn't going to be me. I was finally getting my shit together. I was in my first week of college, and Mom didn't even talk about throwing me out anymore. Maybe actually seeing me try to make something of myself had something to do with it. Perhaps she was contemplating the empty nest and putting it off as long as she could. I don't know. We still didn't always get along, but somehow, now that either one of us could legally separate herself from the other at a moment's notice, we had found a way to respect each other's boundaries. And I was reluctant to leave. Most of my reasons were financial, but there was this other reason too. She couldn't know about Trevor. Sooner or later, his letters would stop coming. Until they did, I had no choice but to stay. 2 months later, he wrote me this.
November 20th, 2015. Dear Mercy, you're not ignoring me, are you? I'm starting to think you've forgotten about me, about our bond. There's no way. We've got too much in common. We're friends. Friends don't leave friends waiting this long. It's getting cold here. The leaves outside have turned red and brown. I wonder what it must look like to you. I only get to see the same trees over and over again, year after year. I know them by heart. The ones that turn yellow, those that go brown, the crimson ones. They're my favorite. Red is such a soothing color. It's the color of life. It's the color of death. It's beautiful. How have you been? How's college life? Is that why you haven't answered my mail? It hadn't occurred to me that maybe you moved away to attend class. Maybe your skank of a mother found my letters and threw them out. Burned them, maybe. Wouldn't put it past her. She won't stop us, though. I'll just keep writing and writing until one of my letters gets through to you. I won't abandon you. We're connected. Your friend, Trevor.
A message on my phone from one of my coworkers at the deli.
Tickets for the Hammerjacks Festival next week. So excited. You're coming on me. Can't cry poor.
I ran my hand through my hair, then gripped it in a fist. That was a 2-day festival, up where she lived in Fremont, 20 miles away. She'd
Seems to have
expect me
addressed
to
for
spend the night. I'd missed the mail for a day. I texted her back. Can't. Sorry. We'll explain tomorrow. I'd think of something by then. I held up Trevor's letter, brushing away tears. Stop it. Please, stop it. And that wasn't the last one either. Far from it, for the next couple of weeks, I heard from him practically every other day. I told myself that this was his final frenzy, that this must all end, and soon. The words on the page kept whispering to me, taunting me, painting my vision red, the color of life and death. We're connected, he said, over and over again. And soon, it would be our special day. Trevor was conscientious enough to remember it.
December 23rd, 2015. Dear Mercy, do you know what today is? It's our anniversary. The anniversary of the first letter you sent me. It's faded now. I've looked at it so many times, handled it so much that the ink is smeared and faded. But I still have your picture. I'm very careful with your picture. I don't let anything bad happen to it. But back to the topic at hand, our anniversary. I haven't heard from you in months, but I know you're thinking of me today. I just know it. I can feel you in my bones. It's electric. The bonds that bind us together. You feel it too, right? Our special connection. Tell me you're thinking of me. Happy New Year. Hope to hear from you soon. Trevor.
I'm taking a break here.
I put out the cigarette. I was tempted to burn
My bad.
myself with it. Wouldn't have been the first time.
Yeah.
No,
Fire lane.
I said to myself. You're done with that shit. All of it. You haven't done stupid shit like that since you were a kid. But then, I hadn't smoked cigarettes in more than a year either. And here I was, smoking. I hoped Mom wouldn't smell it. That was the last thing I needed. This is it, I thought, and repeated it to myself several times with my eyes shut tight. When I don't answer him on our anniversary, he'll get it.